the last couple of days, you might have seen some headlines going around that Samsung's latest foldables, the Z Flip 7 and the Z Fold 7, have been selling so well that they are actually making an appreciable dent in Apple's market share in the United States. Now, you guys know that I am a big fan of the Galaxy Z Fold 7. I've really enjoyed that phone. So I would love nothing more than to be able to come to you and say, yes, indeed, it is selling that well. But instead, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a look at this claim and see if there's any validity to it at all. And it seems like most articles I'm seeing are linking back to this article from CNBC. And I immediately have some concern here, simply because when I think of accurate tech reporting, I don't think of CNBC. So we need to give them at least the benefit of the doubt. Samsung taking market share from Apple in the US as foldable phones gain momentum. That is the headline. They're just straight up saying it. So is it true? So they start off with several one-sentence paragraphs that don't really say a whole lot, but then we get to the actual point. In the second quarter, shipments from Samsung surged in the US, with its market share rising from 23% to 31% over the prior period, according to data from Canalys. Apple's market share during the same quarter declined to 49% from 56%. So Apple is still market share leader, but Samsung jumped from 23 to 31%. Now, a couple of things we immediately need to point out here. We're talking about shipments, not sales, okay? So a shipment is not the same thing as a sale. When I buy the phone, that is a sale. When Samsung ships the phone in to have it ready at a retailer, that is a shipment. So those are different things. They also got their data from Canalys. So what we're going to do is we're going to open that up in another tab. We're going to come back to that in a minute. As you scroll down, they do start talking about the Fold 7 and Flip 7, and eventually they get to these points here where they talk about how the latest version had 25% more pre-orders than any other Samsung folding phone, and sales are outpacing the device's predecessors by 50%. These are all definitely good pieces of news for the Z Fold 7, but does that actually account for this shipment market share change? To find out, we're going to do the thing that a lot of people just don't do. They took the CNBC article and they just rewrote it and they posted it. They didn't go back to the source. So this is the source of the data. And almost straight away, we have exactly what they just said, that the iPhone shipments declined 11% and Samsung's grew 38% year over year for quarter two. But here's the problem. When Canalys starts to talk about what accounts for these changes in shipments, they don't mention foldables. They don't talk about foldables. This is what they talk about. Vendors front-load shipments to mitigate tariff risk. So you guys, I'm sure, unless you're living under a rock, you know that one day there's tariffs, the next there's not tariffs, and then they're high, and then they're low, and it's very confusing. And a lot of these OEMs, what they've done to try and get around this is while the tariffs are low, they've tried to get as many of their phones into the United States as they possibly could so that they could then sell them at the normal price. What is that going to do? Well, it's going to increase your shipments by however much you just brought them in. So that is what's happening. Vendors are front-loading their shipments, but it's actually even worse than that for this article. Apple built up its inventories rapidly toward the end of Q1 and sought to maintain this level with Q2. So that's why their shipments seemed like they were lower, because they brought in a ton of stuff in Q1, didn't need to do as much in Q2. Samsung scaled up its inventory stock in Q2, boosting its shipments to grow 38% year on year, predominantly driven by Galaxy A series devices. Yet the market only grew 1% despite vendors front-loaded inventory, indicating tepid demand in an increasingly pressured economic environment and a widening gap between sell-in and sell-through. So if you actually read the source, what CNBC is saying is complete and total nonsense. Again, I love my Galaxy Z Fold 7. You can see that I've recently put a little ESR MagSafe ring on the back, which has actually been really nice. I can use a battery bank on it with my leather skin, and I don't think that looks too bad. I'm getting distracted. I really like this phone. and I would love to be able to tell you that it's selling so well that that is actually true, that it's actually eating into Apple's market share. But we got to think about the scale of things here, right? How many iPhones does Apple sell? How many Z Folds is Samsung selling? We're separated by like orders of magnitude here, right? This is a $2,000 phone versus the iPhone, okay? So no, the Z Fold is not eating into the iPhone's market share in any significant way at all. This is a case of someone, I don't mean to just completely just dump on somebody, but Kif here. This is a case of Kif reading this Canalys report, barely getting past, look how far down we had to scroll. 1, 2, 3, it's the fourth paragraph. Not even getting to the fourth paragraph and just sort of jumping to conclusions, writing an article, and then other places taking that article and then just regurgitating it, despite the fact that there's no basis for what they are saying at all. I know people like to dump on AI, but sometimes I genuinely think we'd be better off if more people actually used it, because we wouldn't be getting things like this as often. The CNBC article was blocking Gemini from being able to look at it, but Android Headlines wrote the exact same article. So I asked it, is this article from Android Headlines accurate based on the Canalys article? Pasted it in, and you can see how quickly it says, kind of, but no. It says that it was accurate, but presents a misleading conclusion. This article incorrectly attributes Samsung's growth to the success of its foldable phones, but the Canalys text explicitly states it was predominantly driven by the A-series devices. Again, this is not complicated. It's just wrong. So guys, I hope you once again enjoyed a little bit of fact checking here on my YouTube channel. Comment down below how you feel about these sorts of things and how you feel about your Galaxy Z Fold 7. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.